This is Pagan Online, the newest hat thrown into the hack and slash isometric action RPG ring. It looks and does quite a bit similar with other games, but brings with it some quirks and looks to shake up the genre that they feel has stagnated quite a bit. Out the gate, what appeals most to me here is it being a new co-op capable game that is PvE focused, and hugely important, large amounts of polish and not having that indie feel, as well as being paid. This look at the game has been sponsored by Wargaming, and if at any time the game looks interesting to you, know that it is available now in early access, and there are links in the description for more information. In this video, we'll be looking at how Pagan Online works, what's interesting about it, dropping some random information, and then I'm going to give you my thoughts after playing the game. So, in Pagan Online, you have a game structure similar to a mission-based MMO Lite. You have a main hub which offers you many different services to create and modify gear, augment and improve skills, buy and sell items, and all different types of menuing you normally find in an RPG. It's also meant to act as a bit of a social hub where you'll be able to see other players in between going on hunts to kill monsters. Strung along through a loose narrative, there are story missions you can take on, which will gradually unlock locations and different maps with different tile sets. This will then allow the game to draw from them to offer you different styled missions in them, repurposing those and upping the replayability factor. These are things like survival modes, point defense, patrols, boss runs, or even just the option of rerunning those story modes in a higher difficulty. Now, these non-story missions will be populated with random encounters and enemies. You'll have your main objective, but also sub-objective, like clear it without using a potion, or only take X amount of damage, or don't move a lot, and you'll earn bonus rewards if you fulfill these. Depending on the mission, these can occur in different areas or routes throughout a map, or even in a single room, and you might even find things like time-locked chests or elite monsters, and all sorts of fun little additions or gimmicks that feel right at home in an action RPG. When you're in a mission, it's all business, and it plays out like any other action RPG you know, where your goal is to kill monsters, acquire loot, kill more monsters, acquire more loot, and so on and so on and so on. A nice little touch is that loot doesn't show up until you essentially clear an encounter or clear a room so that you're not cluttered on your screen or you're not preoccupied. And you'll also have the opportunity, depending on your performance, to earn a spot on mission-specific leaderboards. Something that may seem a bit different in Pagan Online is that you move with WASD as opposed to mouse clicks. This can make it look a little bit goofy while you're watching the footage or watching anybody's footage or even the trailers, as the character will look and aim towards where the mouse is independently from the movement. I'm a little bit more accustomed to this, having grown up on MMORPGs, and so I feel right at home, but while you can't swap to a click to move kind of control scheme, I promise you that you get used to it very quickly, and the movement works with the style of combat that the game has. Combat is slowed way down in comparison to other popular action RPGs and is balanced more around specific class mechanics and cooldowns. This isn't the type of game where you can just power up one skill and hold it down and zip around the map, clearing everything as soon as you see it. In this game, you need to weave between your kit of 8 abilities, dodging attacks, and playing an active role in a fight, and potentially having to set yourself up to be able to do damage or play the game effectively. This lends itself well to the last part here, in that class roles are much more rigid and in most cases have a playstyle baked into them. Items have a lot of room to play with stats and numerical values, and synergizing specific stats will increase effectiveness, but there's a fixed kit, which means that there's a fixed playstyle. And in this way, there is less freedom in ways to play a class. But that's because Pagan Online takes an interesting approach here, where instead of having a single main character, you unlock up to 8 different hero classes, at least currently, with different playstyles, abilities, appearances, identities, and progression structures that you can freely swap to between missions, and you need to gear up, level, and progress each one separately, and that and other actions will sort of build up an account level for an overall account progression. This style of combat kind of makes it feel like you're playing a PvE battle right as opposed to one of the top action RPGs like Path of Exile or Diablo. There's a much bigger emphasis on player skill over item builds or item strength, I'd almost say that the game has more in common with dungeon runner style titles that sit on a line in between genres. So Pagan Online is in early access, but there is a lot of game already here, and it's in really great shape. It plays better than almost any other game I can remember in early access. I mentioned them earlier, but this is being released and developed in part by Wargaming and Mad Head Games. Wargaming is the company behind the wildly successful, long-standing World of games. They are an industry leader, and so there's a lot of momentum and support being thrown into Pagan, and it shows. As much as I love the idea of a 7-man team creating their passion project finally, I don't like having to wait 7 years until it feels good to play. Pagan already feels, plays, and looks great, and better than some of the fully released games in its same genre. The way it's being monetized is very weird for 2019 from a studio that has experience in free-to-play titles. Pagan Online is being sold as a premium product with a price of around $30 currently, with future content already being hinted at in the way of new maps, hero classes, monster types, and stories to exponentially increase the variation the game can offer in missions. And I've seen articles saying that they are planning quarterly releases that may be almost paid mini expansions, or battle stories is the term I think I heard. In the testing window, I was unable to try out co-op play, although I've been assured that co-op is a huge part of Pagan Online, and even just reading the different abilities and seeing how the game plays, it makes sense that it's been designed around this, and I think it will work good. But I have to hold my tongue and not assume too much until I've tried it out. It's a part that I really want to sink my teeth into, and if it's good, you're going to see more Pagan Online videos for sure. So after some time with the game, a few things stuck out to me. The first is, while the theming of Pagan Online is strong and the story and environments aren't too shabby at all, art direction is cohesive and believable, Pagan Online feels very gamey. From the ground up, you can tell that everything is meant to be modular, tracked, scalable, interchangeable. All of the fat has been cut. So you don't even need to walk between the vendor and the crafter. Everything is available with a click. It's a different type of streamlining. They've created this experience where gameplay are these rather short, action-packed sessions that you string one after another. And I think hack and slash action RPGs and looter shooters are maybe the only style games that could get away with this, because people in these style games want to be doing something for a specific reason, usually progression, and they'll repeat the same thing over and over and over and over again. So fluff like narrative and story is fun once, but they don't want it dragging them down in the subsequent runs. And instead of trying to dress up the grind and try to fool the player into doing it, Pagan puts it all out clearly and instead just tries to keep the grind as varied as possible and stretch out the content that it has by trying to keep missions varied by having variable objectives, sub-objectives, different maps, enemy modifiers, events, difficulty toggles, time-limited stuff, and a whole bunch of stuff, as well as offering the leaderboards or working to unlock cosmetics or different heroes. It's like you're trading the illusion that games try to use to obscure the Skinner box for a better designed one, and I'm not even sure that that's a bad thing here. The pace of combat is something that people will either love or hate, and it is the defining factor of this game. For me, I adore the slower pace. Funny enough, I chose Istok, a giant hammer-wielding hero, and if you go into my video catalog, I have videos of this game called Lost Ark where I also played this hammer-wielding badass, and the combat is so very similar, and I gush and gush about the combat in that game. And it's the same over here. The same stuff applies. It's more deliberate, it's thoughtful. Instead of most of the gameplay being in creating a build that lets you face tank or one-shot something based on what you planned or read on a third-party website, you actually need to participate, and things don't just fall over. Now that said, the hero classes are something I'm not 100% sold on. I think the idea they want is optimally you choose the right hero for the task at hand, almost like tools. You're going to enter into a mission, you look at the overview and you see, oh, this has X, Y, and Z, and you choose the right hero to tackle it, which is more important with certain missions that require items to start that you have limited quantities of. And it'll be interesting to see as more stuff gets released and I progress to the harder content in the game, how much of this ends up being stressed. Do you need to choose the best suited heroes for this, especially in co-op? How important is the meta? because the ask of needing to maintain an ever-expanding roster of heroes might end up being too much, and from one unashamed Doomfist main to another, we always have mains, even when we know we shouldn't, and it will be important to see how viable that ends up being. Overall, I was incredibly surprised, pleasantly surprised. It's nice to see a new game in the genre that isn't inspired from a game released a decade ago. It does make me wary for them to charge a box price and talk about wanting to have a premium product in the age of free, but for me, bring on the polish and higher quality games. From here out, I'll put like a minute or so of just raw footage so you can better focus on it and hear and see it in action, but I'm going to be signing out here. Thanks for watching, guys. If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe, and until next time, this is Fever.
Now you know the hammer blow. The gods might be gone, but their legacy remains.